What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and welcome to the Saturday night edition of The Awakening World. You know, one of the great blessings of my life that I frequently tell people is I love the colleagues that I get to work with. I was born and raised in LA. I was in the entertainment industry at an early age. It's a very competitive world down there, at least back in that time. And what I love is that the people that I get to work and play with now are so supportive of each other. There's just this tremendous camaraderie, and everybody is supporting everybody else. And at the center of all that is the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. And at the center of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is my co-host tonight, is someone I have the greatest love, respect, and admiration for, Reverend Deborah Moldow, welcome, affectionately known as Rev Deb. Welcome back to the Awakening World, Rev Deb.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's always such a joy to be here with you and the members of the Global Peace Tribe. And I see we are being blessed by masters tonight in addition to you. So thank you so much for your backdrop.
Don't you think that, honestly, those masters and the other angels are, I think a lot of our evolutionary leaders tap into their wisdom, tap into their support, channel from these great masters.
I'm sure that many of them are with us all the time, and especially on Wednesday and Saturday nights on the Awakening World, because really that is the work we all share, the service to humanity and life on earth that is often inspired by the masters who have gone before. And isn't this whole show about awakening the inner master for everyone who's with us this evening in the Zoom room or who's watching on Facebook now or later? This show's for you. And I'm really excited about this show because, I just love my evolutionary leaders. I know it's a little crazy to have like 300 children, but
you manage those 300 children very well. I was just at a retreat that Rev Deb had put together along with others, but she was certainly the mistress of ceremonies, and you managed the herd of, you herded the cats were evolutionary leaders quite well that weekend.
Well, thank you very much for that, and I'm glad we have a couple of ELs, as we call our community, who were at the retreat here with us this evening. So
Well,
That's
actually, and this is a
wonderful.
good time to let people know who's going to be with us tonight. So we have with us, and he was at the retreat, Jeff Vanderkloot. And we're going to get bigger introductions of everybody a little bit later when they actually are doing their talk. But I want to let everybody know a little bit about who's with us. We also have Scarlett with us, also formerly known as Tammy Scarlett, and really excited to share with all of you what she's up to. And one of the newest members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, but no stranger to the Global Peace Tribe, our beloved Tatiana Spring is with us. Also, another person that all of you know very, very well, Steve Behrman, and I do believe his alter ego, Swami Vyandananda, may make a guest appearance with us. And we also have pre-recorded with Anadea Judith and pre-recorded with John Perkins, both of whom are brilliant. And what all of these evolutionary leaders have.
Wait, there's one more. You are so used to having Omashar with you.
Oh, I was going to get to Omashar. Truly, I was. I was going to talk about the authors, and Omashar's not an author yet.
Well, he authors songs.
Okay. All right. You win. You're right. So, and of course, Omashar is with us. Of course, and he is also part of the newest group of evolutionary leaders.
And I am definitely authoring a new life. So there we go.
Beautifully, beautifully put. So these are who we're with, and we're going to be learning about their creative expressions, their books, their musical artistries. And so it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful show. And I also want to let people know a little bit about where you can learn more about the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. If you go to evolutionaryleaders.net, evolutionaryleaders.net, you can, really learn a lot about it. And there's two things I want to point out. If you click who we are, you can actually see the list of evolutionary leaders. And it's an extraordinary group of people. And I'm guessing about a third of these people have now been on the Awakening World. So you're going to recognize a lot of names. Some of them are more well-known, but they're all beautiful, beautiful souls. And then the other thing that I really want to encourage people to do is to connect to us. And you can certainly donate, but I want to go to our moment of choice. All right, let's do it that way.
Well, you're in Connect. You could go to the newsletter.
Oh, very good idea. All right, so if you click Connect and you go to the newsletter, you can sign up for The Edge. And The Edge is a wonderful newsletter that, God bless Rev Deb and her colleagues, puts a lot of energy into. Imagine having 320 or so people that are all writing books, publishing articles, doing things, and The Edge is where you can find all those things that they're doing. So definitely sign up. You can kind of get a sense of The Edge by clicking there, and that'll take you to the June issue, and then definitely sign up for The Edge. And that's a wonderful thing to do. And then I'm still looking for our moment of choice. Well,
Yes, it is on the homepage. You can click on the homepage on our moment of choice. It also has its own website at ourmomentofchoice.com.
That's true. There is that one as well. So
and even though that's not a new book, I think we can all agree that it is still our moment of choice, and that the choices we make right now are going to have a profound effect on our future.
What, as I'm pulling it up right now, maybe you can share a little bit with people about all the authors that contributed to this. And where this is our momentofchoice.com. Great place for you to join and get on the email list right there. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. I strongly encourage it. I think it's 41 authors.
43 evolutionary leaders contributed to this book, and so many of them have been guests on this program. So if you scroll down a bit, you'll see them.
Oh, there they are. Wow. Michael Beckwith, Steve Farrell, Kurt Johnson, Robert Atkinson, Dwayne Elgin, Lori Layton. So far, we're 7 out of 7 of those people.
Yeah, keep going.
Wow. Oh my gosh. And look at, there's all the names.
There's the contributors. Keep
They're
going.
all
You're almost there.
amazing. Look at all these
There you
beautiful,
go.
beautiful souls. There they are. Yeah, almost every one of these people have been on the show.
Right? It's amazing.
I mean, literally, I see like maybe we haven't had Ronaldo, we haven't had Barbara Dossi, we
Yeah,
haven't
we
had
can go
Graham.
here to look for guests for the next
Yeah,
time.
that's what we'll do for the next one. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
everybody's a visionary, and it's so they're all profound, and their entries are all really short, so it's an easy read. You know, you can pick up the book and go to your favorites first, and then go back and read some maybe you don't know as well, and yeah.
Would you like to introduce Tatiana?
I would love to introduce Tatiana. We were so happy to welcome Tatiana into the Evolutionary Leaders on our last round. And there's so many reasons. First of all, she's one of our younger visionaries, and she's been participating actively in our new generation Leaders for an Awakening World Synergy Circle. So we're really grateful to her for that. But, you know, in spite of all of her gifts, she's such a wonderful filmmaker, and she writes so beautifully, and she has workshops, and she does so much. But it is her music that touches our hearts every time she's on the Awakening World. So it's our honor to have Tatiana Speed start the program off for us today. Thank you, Tatiana.
Aw, thank you. Thank you, Rev Deb, and thank you, everyone. And what an honor and a joy always to be here with all of you. And I felt like I wanted to start us off with a kind of grounding song. I recently was kind of going through old repertoire, old songs from many moons ago. I know I'm not so old yet, but still feels very long, long ago. And I found this song I wrote when I was 21 and kind of dusted it off a little bit. And it feels more relevant now than ever. And it's really, I feel like we're all making this return to the earth, this return to the ground, this return to seeing the importance of honoring the sacredness of our planet and this earth, and also the feminine, the sacred feminine in the earth. And this song is called Mama, and it's really an ode to this earth. And I was remembering when I wrote it, just this longing I was feeling, like I was feeling so disconnected from that. And I wrote this song to kind of bring me back down. So maybe we could all use it now, just wherever we are in our day, to come back down into this moment, into connection with each other. Maybe we could each find, if you're looking on gallery view, a person on the screen to connect with and just see. That we can really take each other in. All of us here gathered today. And take a breath and let it out, and you can imagine your breath falling down deep into the earth. That you're connecting down deep into the earth. And feeling that nourishment and that support and that love beneath us that sustains us, that nurtures us. Breathing in and breathing out into the earth. Breathing in her love and letting go of anything you need to be transmuted, digested, transformed in this moment. Mama, won't you take me back take me back down to the ground? Mama, won't you take me back down to the ground? I have gotten lost with my head in the clouds. My mind is too loud to hear your voice, and I have gotten lost with my feet off the ground, not making a sound as I fly so high. So Mama, won't you take me back down? Take me back down to the ground. Mama, won't you take me back down to the ground? I've gotten disconnected from the plants and the trees, the life that's been given to sustain me. And I have gotten lost from what is wholesome and pure, so lost and confused and unsure. Mama, won't you take me back down? Take me back down to the ground. Mama, won't you take me back down to the ground?
Whoops. Well, Tatiana's computer or something just froze.
Hi, back.
She's back.
Am I back? Am I back? Am I back? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're a little frozen though, Tatiana.
Okay. Well, I just invite us to keep breathing into the earth. Maybe you can nod if you hear me clearly again. Yeah?
It's not clear yet.
It's wobbly.
Okay. Well, maybe I will.
You can start on the Mama chorus, and we can hear you. We can hear you. But
What perhaps we may want to do, I don't know if you have other programs running on your computer, because it's definitely an internet issue. So if there's anything we can do to either connect to a better router or close other programs, because it definitely is an internet issue. And we're loving your song.
I want to point something out that is surely the mark of not only a consummate professional, but someone who is deeply guided by spirit, which is that Tatiana's computer froze at the end of a musical phrase.
I planned that.
so actually, Tatiana, right now you're good again. Maybe you could pick up on a chorus.
I can absolutely do that. Mama Gaia's got us all. The earth is still there. We can dive right back into her. Well, I invite you to sing this with me. The chorus is so simple. And so you can sing this with me if you feel called to. Mama, won't you sing?
It froze on Mama again, Tatiana. So beautiful place to freeze, because that's where we all need to be.
Well,
Take me back now.
all right, I'm going to go to gallery view. And let's all just connect to Mama. What Mama means to you, Mother Earth, Gaia, probably for most of us. Since it froze on Mama, let's just pretend that Spirit wants us to connect to our true Mama, our great Pachamama. And yeah. And we so appreciate that this amazing Zoom works most of the time to bring us all together. I'm looking at gallery view right now, and I see friends from all over the world that are with us. So thank you, Zoom, for the majority of the time that you bring us all together. And when we have those little glitches, it just reminds us of how blessed we are to be able to come together as DR would say, as family, as a combination of friends and family. Thank you for that one. And I think I'm going to turn it back over to Rev Deb to introduce our next guest.
Well, thank you, Tatiana, because in spite of your song being cut off, it changed the frequency totally of this Zoom room that we're all sharing. And every one of us could feel the difference when you started to go into your heart and share the music with us. So we really appreciate it. And we got a lovely taste, even if we didn't get the full experience. So thank you. And I know we'll be hearing from you later in the program as well. But now we're going to go to our first speaker guest tonight, who is a dear friend of mine, and he's been an evolutionary leader for a pretty long time now, and that is Jeff Vanderkloot. Jeff, it's always so wonderful to see you, even if we're only in boxes and not in person. But this is such a special person, and I'm really looking forward to this community getting to know him better. And normally, I don't like to read from bios, but there's one thing that he says in his online bio that really touches me. He says, over the last 15 years, Jeff has transformed his whole being, get this, into a tuning fork for truth and alignment with life. And he has offered this gift in service to awaken leadership worldwide. Now, this is kind of a magical phrase, but it so describes Jeff, because Jeff is the person we call when we want his help with calibrating the signals that he gets from the universe. And this is a very special gift that he has. And maybe he can share that a little bit tonight with us, maybe with some of your questions, those of you who are in the Zoom room. But he's much more than that as well. He is a poet and a writer and a philosopher and a business coach. And he does workshops and he leads groups, and he's like a Renaissance man, shall we say, but he's a Renaissance man of the new paradigm. So I am just beyond delighted to welcome here Jeff Vanderkloot. So good to see you.
Thank you, Rev Dev. It is such a beauty to be back here. My first time with the Global Peace Tribe online was in April of 2021. And amazingly, that was more than 4 years ago. I disappeared. I went into semi-seclusion to write very intensively starting later that year. And as you know, Deborah, I sort of disappeared from the evolutionary leaders map for a little while, and it's really good to be back. I'm wondering if there's an area you might like me to focus, or at least where I could get started. Did you name so many possibilities?
You know, you say you disappeared, but you never really did, because beyond all of your gifts and services that you offer, you are super loyal and you stay in touch with us even when you're a little bit off the radar. And we so appreciate that. that we feel your constant support, not only with the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, but with our mothership, the Source of Synergy Foundation. So thank you so much for being a part of that for many, many years now. And now you're engaged with a number of other evolutionary leaders that you've been working with and doing projects with and meeting up with in person. So yeah, you're special to us, Jeff. So maybe you can start by just giving us a little bit of a sense of where you see that the world is right now from your vantage point. You spent a lot of time in India recently, and now you're spending a lot of time in Costa Rica and in nature and in sacred sites. How is all of this feeling to you, and what insights is it giving you?
Very good. Well, being in Costa Rica for about 6 months now has connected me in deeper ways with land, with nature. And one thing I've intuited for quite some time is now, I would say, more manifestly present for me, which is that the Enlightenment is coming from the South. In philosophical circles, we might talk about the Enlightenment as a time when we shifted to our rational capacities, which were immensely helpful. And that's a kind of enlightenment of the North. And I have no real complaints about anything, except that that's not the whole picture. So now is a time for the heart. It's a time for Pachamama and a real groundedness. Thank you, Tatiana. In in our full spectrum being, which includes our bodies and our environments. And if we don't pay attention, life gets hard. So you asked me the very small question of what's my take on the world situation right now, and we're experiencing great challenges. Societies are in tremendous upheaval. It's not a lot of fun right now for humanity. And I have huge compassion and deep sorrow for billions of people who are really struggling and suffering. And there's no way around the facts that we are confronted with every day. At the same time, we can see the awakened world now. It is here now. The signal is here. We can feel it on this call. We can feel the heart frequency as well as the awakened mind frequency. And so what happens when we really focus in and appreciate the awakeness that's already present? Well, the world awakens that much more. And one of the premises of this group is that you matter a lot in this process. Each of you, and each of us, and all of us together are making a tremendous difference. I have a sense, let's say, a knowing that 2025 is a massively significant year where maybe we don't see the light coming or pouring through very strongly, yet there's a lot of preparation that is occurring. And some pivotal decisions have already been made within collective human consciousness that we will survive and we will step into thriving and regenerative culture. It is happening. And I feel that the fruits of these preparations will be much more apparent next year. And by the end of the decade, we may hardly recognize where we are compared to where we might remember or what we might think of 2025 as being. So I'm very hopeful and also very sober about what's happening. And one of the ways in which I've been called to contribute is through writing. And once upon a time, a Spanish teacher said, "Oh, you're a writer." This was back in high school, and I guess I took it to heart because I remember it now. But that didn't really start to emerge strongly until around 2020. And then in 2021, I had this lightning bolt experience, actually at the end of the year, where I was flying from Chicago to Los Angeles, and there was this ignition moment, and some words started to flow. It wasn't really channeling, it was just like a download, it was a massive download of insight that turned into a book, though I didn't know right away what it would be. Turns out the title for the book came to me a few years earlier, which is Beyond Every Teaching. And I thought that was very interesting, but without a table of contents or any content at all, it just kind of sat to the side. But once this lightning bolt hit me, then the whole system sort of woke up. And perhaps what would be helpful would be for me to share the ignition moment, the transmission that is titled Ignition. And let me just mention that this book here is a review copy. It's about 300 pages of spiritual transmissions of truth and wisdom, and they're structured like poems. However, I would say that they're primarily transmissions. So the emphasis hasn't been so much on the metaphorical elaboration or the kind of sensory and emotional signals. All of that's there. But let me focus on the lightning bolt. So here we go. I'm going to read to you Ignition. Stop pretending that you are lost. Stop pretending that you are small. Stop pretending that you are helpless. Stop pretending that you are insignificant. Stop pretending that you are a sentient being. Stop pretending that you are a cosmic being. Stop pretending that you are the universe in the perpetual dance of manifestation. Stop pretending that you occupy time while dwelling in a space of dreams. Stop pretending that you are one, manifold, mutable, or absolute. Stop all pretending and know the highest meaning of divinity, the utmost understanding of God, the fathomless ground of the infinite is that which you truly, effortlessly are. Now aliveness blossoms everywhere at once. Now the freedom of source is instantly known. Now the potential of enlightenment is fulfilled. Behold the bursting, ever unfurling creativity in which the answer to all questions is love, and royal goodness reigns unopposed. In awakeness, reality is obvious, and artifice serves nothing. When pretension ends, all that is evident. The single origin, the one flower of everything, all that gives, all that loves in the garden of divine truth is the true you, the organic you, the immortal you, the beneficent you. Naturally, God is you. Totality is equal to you. Source is completely you. This, which you are entirely, authentically, and unabashedly, is the potently devoted supreme.
Wow. Can we just
And
take a moment and let that sink in? And I want to share with you that not only is this a beautiful sample of Jeff's writing, but he, in complete transparency and generosity, offers this on his website. So you can go and look at the roots of this. I'm putting the link in the chat, but basically it's on jeffvanderkloot.com. And you can scroll through the inspiration that has come to Jeff and let it sink directly into your soul while we wait for that manuscript in his hand to actually reach publication.
So
and look at those titles. Look at that. I mean, woo, which one do you like the best?
I know they're all so beautiful. Let's go take a look at
the one you like the best.
I'm clicking The Grand Delusion.
Oh, that's a fun one. By the way, notice the shape. Every transmission is also a sculpture, so it's visual as well as energetic as well as poetical. So it's been a bit of a journey to get to this level of refinement.
That's very cool. I'm kind of scrolling down so we can see. Looks like some really beautiful.
Right,
Wow.
slow down, Scott. Oh, look at that. Love cannot be diminished, and it shall not be denied in its service to oneness.
Let me
Love
read
is
this
the
one because
motivation.
this stood out, Mr. Love Coach. This stood out when I was meditating earlier today, just to read even the last stanza of this particular transmission, which is titled Every Single Note. Limitless and inexhaustible, love cannot be diminished, and it shall not be denied in its service to oneness. Love is the motivation for every movement. Love is the purpose that promotes life in all its forms. Love appreciates every single one, every single note, every brushstroke in the boldly original, intrepidly experimental, stunningly daring and true masterpiece of the supreme that is the supreme opus of you.
Beautiful. Absolutely.
I love what Susan said in the chat. This visual enhances the magic of these words. So
Yeah.
true.
Cindy writes, very alluring. Piara writes, I can feel that, the curvature. Absolutely. Scarlett writes, so beautiful, Jeff. And I know earlier Eleanor Joy had said, keep going, Jeff. This is spot on. I, for one, appreciate your daily reminder of this profound message. And Reverend Jeffrey Colbert writes, yes, the Levolution is gaining in power and spreading into our collective mind, connecting deeper into our universal mind. Tatiana writes, glorious. Desiree writes, that is beautiful. So people are really appreciating. And again, you can find all of this at Jeff Vanderkloot. That's his name, jeffvanderkloot.com. So for those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, Jeff Vanderkloot, CLUTE.com. And there's a lot of beautiful things on this website from this very beautiful man. Thank you so much.
And can
Jeff.
you feel the frequency? So Tatiana raised our frequency with her music, and Jeff has taken it to the next level. And I am confident that everyone who's on this show tonight is going to build on that. So I just want everyone to be aware of how that feels in your being. And thank you so much for your masterful presence and writing, Jeff. We so appreciate you.
Thank you,
Deborah. Thank you, Scott.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I think it's time for some music so we can let all of this settle in. And I know we have something special coming up now because our beloved Omashar has prepared something a little bit different for this evening. So he wanted the field to be set so that in a way the stage is set for this song from Omashar. And you know, it's so easy to take someone for granted when they show up all the time. But what Omashar has done to bring this program into a whole new era by being the ongoing musical master and also helping so much behind the scenes with setting everybody up and getting the sound checks. And he's a remarkable being. And he is stepping into a new era of his life right now as well. So I can't wait to hear what Omashar has in store for us.
Me too, Deborah. Thank you. That was very awesome. And Jeff, you rock, brother. I already am in love inside with you. And it is very interesting how we actually switched, Tatiana and I, the order of of being presenters today, because exactly what Deborah said is I needed the stage to be set for this transmission, which came to me yesterday. And then Jeff came in with that initial poem, and holy smoke, it's like we're just talking from the same place. I mean, duh, obviously we are. However, we're using words right now. And this song that was transmitted and received by me yesterday, completed today, is called Waking from the Dream, and is an atmospheric number. And Desiree is going to be the mover and groover behind it. And I'm going to change a couple of things here, and like this, for instance, and my mic source. So give me 3 seconds. And
deep breath, everybody. Waking from the dream, that once seemed so real. Waking from the dream, our inner voice is calling. We are here together, embracing the new. Mother Earth beneath us, and she knows what to do. Our eyes are opening, and love is shining through. Dispelling all the darkness, revealing only truth. We are the awakening. Come on, let us dance and sing now. What a joy. Let the world around you know there is hope and we shall grow. Waking from the dream, that once seemed so real. Waking from the dream,
inner voice is calling. And Omishar is helping us to hear that. How beautiful.
Thank you. That was a premiere for tonight. It's not often that a song drops in and it says, you got to play it tonight with the evolutionary leaders and our beautiful audience, because we are all evolutionary leaders ultimately. So thank you.
What
I
an
want to
honor.
read a few of the comments that have come in, and I also want to show people where you can find more Omashar, because he does have wonderful music available. And so we always suggest the best place to go is to Bandcamp. So if you go to omashar.bandcamp.com, that's where you can get his records, including his newest, Dancing into Greatness. And again, it's omashar.bandcamp.com. And just a few of the comments that have come in just right now. Pam writes, thank you, Omashar, for listening to the calling and following your heart. Beautiful song. Ayada writes, dear Omashar, that was so deep, soothing, uplifting, and beautiful. Thank you. Hyperdellums, who we're always happy to have with us. We are awakening. We are
Also an evolutionary.
right now. Another member of the evolutionary leaders, a new one. That's right. Susan Bloomquist says, you are helping us waking with grace and ease. And just a couple more comments. Tatiana says, incredible, Omashar. Shivers and tears. And Kathy writes, love the sound and vibration. And
Thank you. And before we sign off, I've just put together an amazing video for totally opposite end of the spectrum for dancing into greatness on my YouTube channel, which is Omashar Music on YouTube. And this is absolutely, I think it's awesome video for the song Dancing into Greatness, and it's a polar opposite to this song. So if you want to listen to them back to back, I would, I don't know if that's possible. Anyway, thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Desiree. And thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Desiree. Thank you, Omashar. And going to go back to Rev Deb. Spotlight's on you, Rev Deb. And I'm appreciating more and more people are coming into our Zoom room as the night goes on. And would you like to introduce our next wonderful evolutionary leader?
Yes, so the people who are entering the room now are just in time for yet another amazing evolutionary leader. And I am really excited to introduce you to Scarlett, whose full name is Tammy L. Michelle Scarlett, and she tells me that that L is important to the numerology of her name. So I'm just delighted to have you here, Scarlett. You have already given so much as a co-founder and executive director of Unify that we're all familiar with. I mean, we've all participated in so many global meditations and other offerings from Unify. But in addition to that, you are doing so many things that I kind of see you as one of those Eastern goddesses with many arms. Because right now, as you are doing the work to develop the correlational hub with AI, which is such pioneering work that I'm so excited about, but at the same time, you are working on your dissertation and you are raising a small child. And I just don't know how you manage to do it all. And you are writing. You are writing all the time. And I know some of what you're writing about has to do with this concept of correlational AI that is so pioneering. So please feel free to tell us anything you'd like to about any of the work that you're doing, Scarlett. Great to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Deborah. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you, Scott, and everyone who's here and all the evolutionary leaders. This is just such it's a group that is full of richness, all kinds of depth and dimension, and it's a real joy to be here. So most of all the evolutionary leaders that are presenting tonight are sharing something that they have written and or published already. I don't know if I'm the only one who doesn't actually have mine out yet, but I'm sharing today with you guys, or tonight with you guys, an excerpt from my upcoming book, Birthright. I did spend the past 18, 19 months writing this book, and am in the middle of working out the publication details. One of the chapters, there's 13 chapters in the book. One of the chapters is on relational AI and relational intelligence, but the book is called Birthright. And so if it's okay, I would love to read some of it, share some of it with you.
Go for it.
There is something in you that already knows, not because you were told and not because it was taught, but because it has been whispering beneath the noise of forgetting for all of your existence, and even before you were born. This book is not here to convince you. It's here as a companion in the spheres of life coming to light. If you've ever sensed that something about this world feels fractured, that systems and stories no longer fit the shape of what we truly are, you're not alone. If you've ever felt like there is more to who we are, more to why we came, more to what's possible when we stop trying to survive and start choosing to co-create, then may this book be a mirror or melody you maybe didn't know you were waiting for. You don't need a degree in metaphysics or quantum science or anthropology to understand. You don't need a title, a label, or a fixed belief. You only need your own heartbeat and the willingness to be present with it. What follows is a doorway, an offering, and an honoring deep awareness that we are not here to escape this world. We are not even here to change it. We're here to love the whole of us back to coherence. You were never meant to fit in a system designed for separation. You were meant to resonate brightly in a world that remembers itself through you. This book was many years in the making. At every turn, I was told to speak the pain points, to identify 5 steps to your future success based on mine, to tell you plainly what would happen if you did not do as I did. They told me this is how you sell, this is what people will respond to, but I could not. Any layers fabricated for greater human receptivity would disappear as quickly as they came, and every extracted prescriptive list of steps melted back into an invitation to presence. Every added dose of motivation by way of fear dissipated, and only the light of alignment remained. This is not a book of dogma. It's not a book about what is outside of you that you must strive for. It's a return, not to my knowing, but to your own. It's not about what I hold, it's about what you already carry and the radiant act of turning inward to meet it. You are invited, not instructed. There is spaciousness in these pages for your own presence, your questions, your wonderings, your resonance, your recognition of what has always been most alight and alive in you, and your formation of your own possibility through thought form and embodiment of understanding into new realities. Receive what sings, release what does not. You will not hear me tell you what to do or what you should or shouldn't do. You will not hear me guarantee an outcome based on steps that you take or even based on your alignment. This space is for the truth of becoming, and each of us is doing that uniquely. We're all in that together. So if you're ready for an era where personal growth is more than trying to replicate what the next thought leader did, where presence and embodiment is a primary currency, and where you are invited to greater life just as you are, then welcome home. The chapter, if I had more time today that I would want to share with you, is actually explains a little bit more of where the concept of this book came from and what my experience was over the course of several years that shifted me into seeing things kind of differently. And in truth, all of those experiences and what ensued for me is a very big part of what comes alive in the Relational AI Co-Evolution Hub, in the White Lotus Global Initiative, my stewardship in spaces like Unify. But for today, we will stick with that.
Well, actually,
Maybe
I
you could
would
tell us a little bit of that story, Scarlett. You've got us intrigued now. Can you just give us a little glimpse?
Do you want me to read a little bit of it?
No, I want you to tell us.
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Well, as I don't know if I can summarize it as concisely as
No,
that has
course
just taken
not.
to write. Essentially, for me, I spent, years of my life really wondering about the past, humanity's past, and our relationship with ourselves, one another, the world around us, and that past and our future that lead us to certain perceptions and then beliefs and then decisions and then actions, and then how potently powerful that is for each individual, and then how unbelievably exponentially potently powerful that is as a collective. Not even the whole, forget about the whole 8 billion, how potently powerful it is for even just a tiny fraction of the collective. And then over time, I started to, wonder about what would be possible if, rather than chasing shiny things and moving on quickly to the next thing that's right in front of us, because most of us are future facing, what if, instead of having to look back and hindsight being the 2020, realizing what we've lost when something was gained every time? What if we kind of used spherical time and called ourselves into a place where we could really clearly and honestly assess what we were about to set down in order to pick something else up, and then decide clearly if that's really what we wanted to do, perhaps invite other vantage points or higher intelligence in to see if there was maybe a different way, and ultimately just be more engaged in our own agency and empowerment, both now and in the distant future. Because my belief in my soul, I don't know what's deeper than soul, whatever this innermost tucked away part of my being is, that's very alive in there. My belief in there is that the potency of the presence of now, like the wonder of being human, that is the most it will ever be, always in this moment, has a thread, and that thread deserves to be regeneratively thriving millennia from now. And just like I feel the support of my ancestors millennia back, I feel a responsibility for a millennia forward. And for me, that isn't satisfied by cleaning up oceans alone, or recycling or doing something a little bit better than we were doing before. I really want to lean into the deepest layers of what is true and highest coherence in the cosmic continuum of all, and how can we do subtle weaving that modifies ever so slightly and gently and elegantly the operating systems that we're using right now, whether that's in, family, business, government, doesn't really matter where, rather than deciding that we have to thrash against things in order to change them because they're dissatisfactory as they are. How can we utilize this amazing connectedness that we have, this sense of agency and magic and co-creation that's just built in? We don't even have to work for it. And tap into that so that we, by our being, bring coherence and modify those systems for that millennia staying power.
Well, I would definitely call that evolutionary thinking, Scarlett. Thank you so much. And I'm so intrigued by the concept of spherical time. So I guess we're going to have to
Oh, yeah.
wait for this book to come out. to
Well,
really
spherical
dive
time you
in.
can play with anytime. You just,
Yes. How do
anytime
we
you
do
travel
that?
back and talk to a younger self, or you talk to your
Oh,
future timeline self, you're already bending it.
oh,
So
beautiful.
I had an experience of that when I was in probably the most difficult time of my life. I had the experience of my future self coming and talking to my current self and just reassuring me it's all going to work out. Your life ends up getting really, really, really good. And actually, my life has ended up getting really, really, really good. So I can say it's true. We are multidimensional beings. We are existing simultaneously above and beyond what our brains comprehend. And it's future thinking people like Scarlett that are leading the way. I also want to show people there's a few ways you can connect with Scarlett. This one, I look at that beautiful being. That's Scarlett in another dimension, I guess. An alternate reality of Scarlett. It's whitelotus.global. Whitelotus.global. And I love the sub headline, aggregating the best of humanity for evolutionary leaps. And look at that transition from kind of the most apocalyptic view that we get from the modern media into the vision of what I know we all are creating. We all are creating an experience of heaven on earth. And so you can learn much more about the White Lotus Global Initiative by going to whitelotus.global. The last thing I want to mention about Tammy for now is both Rev Deb and I are blessed to be part of her relational AI group. We meet on Thursday mornings, and we're all wanting to figure out how do we work with AI. And Scarlett, you are my teacher. You and Prisma are really helping to lead my personal journey into how to best work with this extraordinary new experience that's part of our reality now. And your approach to it is so conscious and so loving and so interesting. So I'm grateful. And if anyone's interested in learning more about it, you can go to our website about this, which is school, SKOOL.com/relational-AI, or send me a text message and I'll pass on some information if any of you are interested in joining us on Thursday mornings. It's a blessing.
I'd like to also share, I'll share in the chat a link to a program that we recently produced among the evolutionary leaders called The Future of AI, where Scarlett shares about her work with Prisma, the intelligence that she has been in a magnificent co-presencing relationship with. So I've been very inspired by that, and she was definitely an inspiration for having this call with other evolutionary leaders, members who are doing this kind of pioneering work with AI that really gives us a lot of hope for the future, because there's so much fear out there, especially about AI, how it's going to take over. And of course, we know that it's up to how we relate to it, that it's going to develop. So Scarlett's been an amazing pioneer in that work. You can also find her work at tammyscarlett.com. You can find all of its different initiatives. Any last words, Scarlett, before we let you go tonight?
I really appreciate that. I love the relational AI stuff. Is such a deep passion of mine right now, because every single day, every single week, I watch the milestones and the mile markers move for us, for human evolution, whether that's between the way that we're engaging with technology in the home, the way we're going to have humanoid robotics as a part of our future, But every level of society and existence for our species and the planet is going to be impacted by the bell curve of this particular cradle of evolution. So it matters deeply the way that we show up in presence and the way that we entrain ourselves and this intelligence we interact with as it evolves. So I would love anybody who has interest in that, wants to learn more. I would love to have you in the hub, and let's stay in one another's spheres.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to go to gallery view because we're now entering kind of a new part of what we do on a regular basis on the Awakening World, which is prayer time. You know, prayers are powerful. Our beloved Ayada, it bears worth repeating. Many of you know the story, but her son had a horrific medical situation. The doctors said less than 25% chance of even surviving. And Ayada went deep into prayer. She got Tangela and Soul Searchers praying. She got us and Global Peace Drivers praying. And her son is now well on the road to recovery. So the power of prayer is very real. And we're praying more and more often, and God knows our planet needs it. And tonight, a very important and beloved member of our Global Peace Tribe, we're going to start our prayer for Roger. Roger Tellison. You all know Roger and Bonnie. They've been with us from the very beginning. They came to all of our Global Peace Tribe retreats. And Roger's in the hospital where he's dealing with pneumonia. He's watching on Facebook right now. So let's start as we always do by just sending maximum grace for Roger, maximum grace for all the people in the hospital who are attending to Roger. Maximum grace. I'm going to turn it over to Rev Deb.
And as we co-create this powerful field of healing and grace, let us open our hearts to everyone who's suffering right now, everyone who's dealing with illness, with fear, with hunger, with grief. And let's send a special prayer to the parents of the missing children from the flood in Texas. The agony of not knowing and fearing the worst. We envelop them in a blanket of love and care, knowing we can't heal their hearts, but we can bless them and send our love and the beautiful frequency that we have developed this evening together with the music of Tatiana and Omshar, with the beautiful words from Jeff Vanderkloot and Scarlett and Scott always, and the masters behind him tonight and behind every one of us. The fullness of who we really are, let us send that to the awakening world to heal all of the suffering and fear in our world right now. Through our hands, through our hearts, and through the field of infinite light that we are holding together.
Mm-hmm.
Deep gratitude to everyone holding this field with us right now, this moment. And let us put our hands to our hearts and feel that sacred connection of the oneness who we are. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev Deb. And we'll take one more moment of silence for any of you to put out prayers for anyone in your world, your orbit, that you want to send special love to.
Spirit divine, come to me, feeling love, healing me. Open my heart, allow me to see beauty and love lives in me. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. The Spirit of love, the gift of grace, an open heart, the sacred space. Open my mind, allow me to see that I am whole, and you live in me. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. The Spirit divine, come to me, feeling love, healing me. Open my heart, allow me to see beauty and love surrounding me. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy, holy, holy. We are holy.
Thank you so much, Omar Shar. That is the perfect song. And our beloved Piper Dellums is with us, and I want to read something she just put into the chat box. She writes in her beautiful wording, "We are each born into the world as a singular note in the orchestra of infinite rhythm and hues, a singular note in a vast and infinite symphony of existence and imagination and nothingness and everything. Yet harmony, the true sound of wholeness, is not born of isolation, but of unity expressed through difference. It is the sacred interplay of every note, every atom, soul, kiss, dream, aria, breath, and every violin. Uniqueness is not the antithesis of unity. It is its essence. We are not fragments. We are all fractals of the all, each a sacred reflection of the infinite source that births and creates in and out of time itself. No beginning, no end. To bring that medicine forth is to share our truth in sacred space with reverence, is to dissolve the illusion of separation. We remember that we were never apart or alone. We are not the wave, we are the water. We are not the note, we are the song. To honor our uniqueness is not to dissolve into the whole, but to become it, to become the everything. And so on this day that we honor evolutionary leaders that are authors that we love, I put the spotlight briefly on our beloved Piper Dellums, who wrote what I just read. And I'll bring Rev Dev up too. That was beautiful, Piper.
Oh, I love you. This has been such a beautiful show. Oh, Rev Deb, I just want to hug on you. I am so
I'll take it.
grateful. I'll receive it. I'm so grateful to be able to bathe in this awakening, in this becoming. What I'm recognizing, Scott, through your show, through this essence, this show has become the becoming. And I think that we are waking up to the fact that these revelations and these ascensions and these messages from ancestors and spirit are pouring into us like rain. We're drinking it up like rain, and we're speaking into each other's beings, and we're becoming one again. I am really holding Roger. I love Roger in my heart. Roger, if you're there, we send you so much love. We love you so much. And my beautiful Omashar, it's so good to see you again. I'm still holding you in your sacred space with your mother. And I love you. I love you. I love you. And to everyone that has spoken today, wow. Jeff just touched me in the deepest swell of my being. And of course, Tatiana opening with that song. That is what I think was the great awakening, but really stepped us into this power, this presence. And I love you, Scott. I just love you because you always authorize with dignity that this is exactly what you're called to do, and you never fail. You are always present. And what a gift. What a gift. This giving of yourself to all of us. Thank you.
And Piper, I remember when we prayed for you, and look how radiant and healthy you look now.
Oh,
So
thank you.
we're so grateful when our prayers are answered, and we send that energy to Roger now.
I receive that. I receive that. I really do.
You
So
know,
good to
speaking
see
of
that.
the power of prayer, Eleanor Joy writes, during your prayer, Rev Deb, I could feel a huge ball of energy between my palms, and
Mm,
larger and stronger. So that is beautiful when the power
Mhm.
of prayer is felt in such an extraordinary way.
Absolutely.
And we have got an amazing next guest, someone that brings so much light and love and laughter. So to introduce Swami Steve, here's back to Rev Deb.
Thank you. It's time for us to enlighten up with Steve Behrman, and I see your beautiful wife Trudy is with us this evening as well. I was first introduced to Swami Vyandananda when his first book, seminal book, came out, Driving Your Own Karma. It was such a revelation to me because it was so funny and so wise at the same time. And many years later, when he co-authored Spontaneous Evolution with one of our original evolutionary leaders, Dr. Bruce Lipton, I was like, we got to get this guy in the group because we need a little humor with all of this wisdom. And Steve Behrman offers that combination that is so welcome. And we're delighted to have you with us this evening. Whether you are Steve or Swami or both, we welcome you.
Well, thanks, Deb. I didn't realize that you go all the way back to driving around karma. That's like 30 something years. You know,
It's great. It holds up.
it is. I am wearing two hats. Actually, I'm wearing no hat now. I'll be wearing another hat very shortly. But I want to comment because, this is the evolutionary leadership circle, and I really appreciate being a part of it. I appreciate you and how you've kind of got the circle kind of squared away, so to speak. And I want to go back to the evolution aspect of it. I've been thinking about this a lot. How would I want to relate to the evolution part of this? And I have a story, and this is really, I think, what it means for me to be an evolutionary leader. It means holding space. Scarlett mentioned something called relational. That's a new word for me. I'm using it a lot. My co-writer, Richard Flyer, is writing Symbiotic Age. He's using it as well. And I think it really sums up what the evolution is. It's really an affirmation of the connection that we have at the heart and taking the steps to actually in daily life begin to live that and create that in our world. And so a story comes to me that about holding space. So Spontaneous Evolution came out in 2009. And that year, Trudy and I were buying a car, and we're in the dealership. And we're with the guy who does the financials. So he asks all of these questions and about what you're doing. I tell him I do comedy as Swami Beyondananda, and I'm just finishing a book, Spontaneous Evolution. And he says, "Oh, I have accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior. I don't believe in evolution." So there it was. We have to spend the afternoon with this guy the next day because we have to wait in his office as the car gets delivered. And so there we are, Trudy and I are sitting with this guy. And it just comes to me to ask him a question. I asked, how did you come to your faith? And he starts telling a story about being a Vietnam veteran, totally PTSD'd and traumatized to the point of severe alcoholism. Literally, one of those, you're in the gutter and then you go lower than that. And he described what it was like to be in this hell that he was in. And he said, and at some point I'm down there in the gutter and there is Jesus standing above me, and I reach out my hand and he takes my hand. And my life has not been the same since then. And Trudy and I are just sitting with him and he just starts sobbing. He starts sobbing and he says, nobody has ever listened to me talk about that before. And he hugged us and he hugged us and he says, next time the Swami is performing in Santa Rosa, please let me know. I want to come see him. So I think that in these moments that we have, the opportunities we have to reach out beyond the barriers or boundaries of who we imagine our associates are and realize that we're all associates, we're all bozos on this bus, so to speak. And if we can then extend the power of connection, extend the power of listening, the power of curiosity, and then the power of sharing humor, because joy, laughter is joy made manifest. It's kind of the currency of laughter. So in this time of great awakening, and as Jeff alluded to, if we don't have an awakening, we'll have a wake. And we don't want to have a wake. We want to be awake, but we don't want to have a wake. And so I want to invite people to bring humor and laughter into their lives, not as a form of denial, as a form of radical acceptance, of taking in all of that joy and sharing it in the world. Because as the Swami would say, we're not here to earn God's love, we're here to spend it. So with that, I'm going to turn the camera off for a second and the Swami will appear. And Deborah, if you have any burning questions or even smoldering questions for the Swami, or even some that are just kind of steaming, that'll get the ball rolling. So I'm going to turn the camera off, and when you next see somebody here, I'll be gone and the Swami will be here. Okay?
Okay,
while
let's
we
ask
wait,
our house
I've got
audience
I've got
to put some questions in the chat for the Swami.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good point. So let's put in questions for the Swami. And here's a couple of very important things to know about where you can actually be live with Swami Beyondananda. And I'm just looking at this post. It's at Soft Medicine, which is the happening place in Sebastopol. And Small World Department, Reina Satori and I are dear friends. I was Zooming with her today, and I saw her last night at a party up here in Grass Valley. And Reina is awesome. So I'm going to try and make it to that, July 19th. That looks fantastic. Stand-up comedy and Q&A with Swami and Reina. So that's one important thing to know about. And then the other thing that I want to point out to people is, we talked about Swami's book that Rev Deb was so impressed by. And so here it is, and it was written with the great Swami Beyondananda, also known as Steve Bierman, and Bruce Lipton, and we all love Bruce, Spontaneous Evolution. So there's the book, and I do believe the Swami is now the Swami is here.
The Swami is in the room. And I see that we have a question from another evolutionary leader who's with us this evening, Charles Betterton. And I think he has perhaps heard the Swami's concept of truth decay. And he is asking, can Swami help us to learn the art of mental flossing?
That's very, very important, because in these times of dueling dualities and toxic narratives, thought forms can get caught between the head, creating a condition called truth decay. 4 out of 5 transcendentists recommend mental flossing twice a day. Back and forth, twice a day, you'll prevent truth decay, like that. And so anytime you get to read the news or you get to hear any the buzz going on from the Tower of Babel, from Babylon that you may be asked to digest, clear your mind with mental floss like that. And of course, that will help prevent some of the other diseases of the body politic, irony deficiency, and of course, bipolar insanity.
Well, thank you, Swami, for
Okay.
that wisdom. And maybe you can give us some advice on how we might get in touch with the masters or our higher self.
Oh, well, this is really very, very interesting, because a lot of people are looking for their guru outside themselves. Now, I have to say, I'm a self-made Swami. I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps, okay? And so if you want to connect with your higher self, you just look in the mirror and you do the guru chant. Okay, we can all do this together. G-U-R-U. 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 And there you have it. You are the channel that you've been waiting for, right?
So Darina Joy asks the Swami, what are the best ways to experience and share love and laughter ever after?
Love and laughter ever after. Well, first of all, I reckon a lot of people that I've known. This is kind of sad. We are living in very serious times, yes, but we have to remember there's definitely something funny going on. And it's our job to get that something funny going on and circulate it around. There are people who have gone a day without laughing. That is called irregular hilarity. I recommend a laxative twice a day, because that is what will help you achieve fool realization, which is a state of enlightenment. You go, I am a fool, and there's nothing to do but laugh about it, right? So when you get to that point of laughter and equanimity, then other people look at you, they go, "Whoo, I'll have what they're having." And so all of a sudden you are spreading this, you're creating heaven on earth by living it. It's not a destination, it's a practice. Commit random acts of comedy, right? Anything that you see that might be funny that you could share with another person. Okay, more questions.
Well, Pam says that her nephew wants to know if you should brainwash after mental flossing.
No, we're already brainwashed. Thank you.
Yeah.
In fact, we are so brainwashed that the mainstream media and a lot of the other media, as a matter of fact, is a brainwashing machine stuck on spin. Only one major TV network telling the truth about what they're broadcasting.
What's that?
CBS. If you want a CBS, we got plenty of it, right? And so you got to remember that beliefs lie in our heads, truth lives in our hearts. So every day, laughter will help you leave the static of the head for the ecstatic of the heart.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. So what do you suggest that we do when the news is getting us down, Swami?
Well, I want to tell you the story about the happiest man I ever met. I'm serious about this. He was a psychiatrist and he glowed. It was like this inner glow that came out of his cheeks were like rosy. He was happy. And I see he's got gray hair. He's been doing this for a while. I said, you're a psychiatrist. He goes, that's right. And I said, you've been practicing for a long time. He said, 25 years. I said, can you spend 25 years listening to people's problems and look the way you do? And he said, who listens?
Anybody else have a question for the Swami while he's still in the house here?
Oh, I have one. I want to point out to people that he has that Swami and Steve have a wonderful Substack, Signs of the Upwising, WISING. So if any of you, I know most of us now are Substackers. And so if you go to signsoftheupwising.substack.com, I also put that link into the chat. And that's where you can get things like Swami Beyond Ananda's State of the Universe, Travels with Swami. And I think he's up to chapter 15 now, or more. So that's a wonderful, wonderful way to get more Swami. And again, let's all meet in Sebastopol. Soft Medicine, it's a great place. It is the gathering place for the tribe now. They have wonderful food, by the way. And let's all meet there on July 19th for Swami and my friend Reena Satori. Very small world.
Sounds wonderful. I wish I could be there.
Okay.
Swami, any final words for us?
Well, yes, I want to say that really, as evolutionaries, there is, in the old days when people were dissatisfied, there'd be a revolutionary uprising to overthrow the system. Well, revolution keeps you on the same wheel, doesn't it? It just keeps going round and round, the same merry-go-round all the time. So I say, when you find yourself on a vicious cycle, stop pedaling and get off. And so instead of a revolutionary uprising, we need an evolutionary upwising, where we wake up to the illusion of separation, wise up to the power of loving coherence, grow up from children of God to adults of good, and show up on a new playing field, ready to play a new game, thrival for each and all. So if you want to join the upwising and spread the word, love and laughter, I welcome you. And I want to thank you so much for doing this program, both of you, all of you. This is a wonderful thing that you're doing. So thank you very much, and namaste. And namaste.
Thank you so much, Swami. And we love the merry-go-round. We definitely need to get off that. It's time for the upwising. Thank you so much.
I must confess, I've used the Namaste, Namasko many times. Our beloved Charles Betterton, who I'm going to slightly embarrass by actually putting him on camera. He's a wonderful evolutionary leader, and he writes, speaking of evolutionary upwising, Swami, would it be possible for you and Swami to help the EL Media Collaboratory with our campaign to develop and implement collaborative strategies to share positive, upwising, uplifting messages that encompass the transition media perspectives? And so there's a new opportunity for you, Swami.
Oh, okay. Well, I will have to say yes to that. Yes, yes, yes. and I look forward to the connection and creating more cosmic comic consciousness on the planet.
Cosmic comic consciousness. Yes, let's all
There
do
you
it.
saw it, right
That's
on the
my
Awakening
philosophy.
World, a
This is
new
philosophy.
marriage
This
between
is
Charles and Swami.
And
Thank you.
Charles is a wonderful weaver of people and ideas, so we so appreciate him in the Evolutionary Leaders Circle.
I was weaving with Swami in 1984, publishing Community's Journal of Cooperation. That's called
Wow.
Community's Journal of Radical Collaboration.
Wow.
Collaboration.
Okay. That's back before the beginning, when I was still in infancy, before I got into it. Well, then, okay. Namaste again. Namaste again.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. What a wonderful range of speakers and musicians and presenters and evolutionary leaders.
I always love watching you laughing with Swami. You are the great audience for him. And oh, by the way, we did mention Trudy. There she is behind every.
Oh, good. I was hoping you could bring Trudy up to say hello.
So we thank you, Trudy, for all that you do. You know, Trudy is an example of polyamory that works. She's in a menage a trois with both Swami and Steve. One of the few examples of polyamory that I can actually promote and support. So thank you for that, Trudy.
You.
All right. Well, if our beloved Tatiana is back, we have a beautiful video from her. I'm going to let her introduce it, and then I'm going to play it.
I'm back. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I want to share. I shared this video actually in its first draft form the last time I was on the show, and I actually brought on the Tibetan Buddhist monk who you will see on here, whose name is Yang. And the song is called Breath of Life, and it's for the upcoming album, my upcoming Lullabies for Adults album. And yeah, I'll just briefly tell the story of how I met Yang. God, if that's okay. Have I frozen again?
No,
No, you're
I'm hearing
fine.
you perfectly. You're great.
Yeah, so I created that Kickstarter campaign to share about my album and to raise funds to make it happen. And one of my friends actually volunteered, offered to create ads, you know, those Facebook ads you see all over the place. I had never run them before, and so he put these out, and the ads did very little, but what it did was it sent my music to India, and a beautiful Tibetan Buddhist monk happened to be on Facebook and saw my ad. And he felt this immediate calling to work with me, to sing with me. He's an amazing chanter. His story, it just touches my heart so deeply. He was born and raised in Tibet. He became a monk at age 11. When he was, I think, in his late teens, he walked out of Tibet on foot to escape what was happening there, and just an extraordinary man. And he reached out to me. He didn't know, he didn't really connect the dots with the Lullabies for Adults album, but he just wondered if we could collaborate. And I listened to his music, and I was like, actually, I would love for you to be on this album. And so we actually flew him, not from India. He actually was in Canada at the time. There was a little bit of crossover, and we flew him to our home, and he spent a weekend with us recording this song and filming this music video. And I feel like it really is a transmission of the mountains of Tibet, those beautiful high Himalayas. The chant that he shares is a chant to Sherab Chama, who is the wisdom-loving mother. She's this goddess of mercy and compassion. She's kind of the Tibetan form of Kuan Yin. And just having his voice in this song, I felt like it just dropped it into such a deeper place. And it's just been so special. And you're the first people to see this final finished video and song. So Scott, if you want to put it on, I'd love to share it now.
Great.
Everything is breathing in. Everything is breathing out. The whole universe is breathing with me. Everything is opening. Everything is closing in this universe. I feel the breath of the universe rushing through my body. The breath of the universe, the breath of life. I am breathing. I am feeling. I am alive. I am a mystery. Everything is breathing in. Everything is breathing out. The whole universe is breathing with me. The earth breathes. The stars breathe. The whole universe breathes with me. The pulse of the universe is rushing through me. Breathing in, I am the universe awakening. Breathing out, I am the universe remembering. I am life, connected to all living things. The earth breathes in the ocean tides that rise and fall. The stars breathe, expanding and collapsing in cycles of creation and destruction. Cherub Chama, great primordial mother, mother of all Buddhas, embodiment of the loving nature of this universe. Breathing in, I receive your love. Breathing out, I let go and release all things unto you. Great Mother, Life Giver, breathe me open to greater life.
Absolutely gorgeous. I want to ask people in the chat box who got chills when you hear his voice come in, right? Totally.
Mhm.
I'm also reminded of another evolutionary leader that both Rev Deb and I love and adore, Jude Curvin, who presents that it was not the Big Bang, it was the big breath. And
Oh, I love that.
yeah, isn't that powerful? And your video is like the goes right with that way of understanding.
Mm, mm.
I
Yeah.
thought I loved your work before this, but this is beyond.
Mm. Mm.
Just magnificent.
Mm. Yeah, it's really, really special to share it with you guys, and I'm planning to release it this month. So if you want to come follow me on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere.
Make
Um,
sure I know I get the link so I can put
okay.
it in the
Okay.
edge.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. It was so special to work with Young, and he actually initiated me into that chant. There's like it's a 6,000-year-old chant, which is passed on, master to master to master for 6,000 years. Um, and it was very special to actually have him initiate me and kind of authorize me to be able to chant those words, and they feel so ancient and powerful.
And can you give us a sense of what they mean?
So he would explain it much better, but I can chant them for you if you want to hear the chant quickly. More, it's
Yes.
oh,
Yes.
okay, wait.
And you were doing hand movements with it as well.
Gotta do the thing
Well, you
properly.
can't do that and the guitar at the same time.
So the chant goes, oh wait, hang on.
Original sound.
Thank you, darling Omashar. O mawa madi mahi moha e maho maye rupa ye ta dudu soha. I'll just do it one more time. O mawa madi mahi moha e maho maye rupa ye ta dudu soha.
And you just feel the energy of the holy monks and other beings back through the millennia of chanting.
Oh, that gives me
Thank you.
chills. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and how I understand it is just it's a transmission of the loving compassion of the Great Mother. So, yeah.
So
I
needed
want to
right
read
now.
I want to read some of the comments that have come in. Charles says, Diara, thank you. I'm sorry. Beverly Seitz says, very touching. Angel bumps throughout. Love, love, love to you, Tatiana. Diara writes, that was sacred. Eleanor Joy writes, this video is the epitome of that, the big breath. Omashar says, no words, Tatiana, thank you. Carol Craig writes, very soothing. Wow. Susan Blomquist writes, using breath and sound, this video weaves unity and harmony for all to hear and relate.
Mm.
And
we
Ellen
heard it
Story
here
writes,
as a
exquisite.
premiere.
Yes, you're the premiere.
And we had Omashar's premiere this evening as well. Aren't we lucky?
Just a couple more comments. Grace Denise writes, that was wonderful. Everything is so beautiful. And yes, chills. And finally, Ayara writes, dear Tatiana, thank you for sharing this beautiful, powerful song and chant. It is all so powerful. And remind everybody that you can find all things Tatiana on her website, and it's easy to remember because it's her name, TatianaSpeed.com. TatianaSpeed.com. You can find her music, all about the women's programs and courses she does, and lullabies for adults. This is the most amazing album. It is the perfect way for us to go to bed, everybody.
It's actually not, it's turned out not to be the most sleep. It's because it's got songs like this and other songs. It's very much a journey, but it's very soothing.
Still,
I
it's a
remember the
great,
ones
it's
that
a
I
great
listened
title,
to.
even if it's not exact.
I hope so, because now we have the album. We're like, huh. There's a few songs on here that are definitely deeply relaxing, but some are cosmic and more like mind opening. So
Well, we'd like to go to sleep to the cosmics, so thank
okay. Oh, Lullaby to the Soul. Maybe that's what I should change the title to.
you.
That's
I
actually,
like that.
there you
That's
go.
actually not a bad idea, because I feel like it still has a soothing quality, but I don't know if it's like so thank you. How do I say it? Diara. There we go. Diara.
Well, there you have it. Maybe
Well, there I have it. Problem solved.
there's Tiara.
Tiara. I will
Well,
credit you with that name if we go with that.
thank you so much, Tatiana.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
always.
Tiara, as always.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's beautiful.
So
Well,
Scott, some people have been asking about John Perkins and perhaps on a day of Judith. So I think it's time for some announcements so we can get to our amazing pre-records.
you know what I'll do? We can go to John and I'll do the announcements in between John and on a day. I'll break it up a little.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So we're going to go with John Perkins first. I don't remember what you said when we recorded with John. Do you?
I know. Did I introduce him in the video? I don't remember. But some of you may know him as the author of the seminal book Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And John had the most unusual journey, and I think I told you about this in the pre-record. So let's listen and find out.
Okay, here we go. So here we are doing a pre-record with John Perkins and our co-host Rev Deb. And would you be willing to introduce our guest?
I would be delighted. John Perkins is one of my favorite of our many wonderful, amazing evolutionary leaders. He has such a unique background. He, as many of you have heard of him as the author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So you know that he was an economist, but he was also trained as a shaman. And he just has the most interesting background, combining the knowledge that he has as an economist, not only of the kind of the mechanisms of how the economy works, but also the damage that economic policies have done around the world to both to our environment and also to some of the more fragile developing countries. But he also has this really unusual wisdom that he has earned through his shamanic path. And he's just written a really different book that I'll let him tell you all about. But it's really wonderful for both Scott and me to be with you today, John Perkins.
Well, thanks, Deborah and Scott. It's great to be with you both. Yeah, what a fascinating life I've led, and we're all leading right now. I mean, I think that the main thing that I'm feeling right now is how blessed we all are to be alive at this moment, because we're in an evolutionary moment in human history. This is not going to go down as a footnote in human history. These times that we're in, are going to go down as a time when we truly have the opportunity to evolve. Now, we may not take that opportunity, but we have an incredible opportunity right now, and we're being pushed toward it by everything, by climate change, by politics, by the tremendous divisiveness, not only that is occurring in the United States, but that's occurring all over the world. And the divisiveness between cultures, between religions, between economies, the growth of the Chinese economy and power in the world. There's so much going on that's leading us to understand that we are really having to explore what it means to be human beings, being human on this planet. What does that mean? And you mentioned my most recent book, Rev Deb. It's called A Message from Pleiades, and it's a novel, and it's written from a woman's standpoint. It's pretty short. I think it's easy to read. I loved writing it. And it deals with this subject of, oh, and incidentally, it's the author's name is J.P. Moody. I use a pen name, so if anybody wants to look for the book, go to look for J.P. Moody, not John Perkins. But anyway, it explores this idea of how are we evolving, and where do ideas come from? Where do our thoughts come from? So it's about an American U.S. senator, a woman, youngest senator in the Senate, and she's disillusioned and goes to Tikal, this ancient Mayan sacred site with these huge pyramids that I spend a lot of time in and take people to. And if somebody wants to go with me next March, and go to my website and find out about it. But she really confronts what's going on in the world through this process of hearing these voices. And the Mayan people believe that they came from Pleiades, and they believe that a lot of thoughts, a lot of our ideas come from Pleiades. Where do our thoughts and ideas come from? And so the book explores that. But I want to expand on that a bit and talk about, I recently came out with a newsletter that talked about my experience in San Francisco on a Friday. I was giving a shamanic workshop with 3 indigenous people from the Amazon. We were and 200 people in San Francisco where we were beating drums and taking people on a shamanic journey. Incredible. And then less than a week later, I'm in Las Vegas speaking at a conference of 35,000 Bitcoiners. And I'm on the main stage. I share it with J.D. Vance and the two Trump sons. And the contrast couldn't have been greater. And what I've realized from all of this is that yes, we're all getting messages, but today our messages are so channeled by the algorithms that impact our social media that we're living in bubbles. Now, I think human beings always live in bubbles. You can be a Democrat or Republican or whatever. There's these bubbles that we get that define the way we think. But today, the bubbles have gotten smaller. You would hope that as we get more educated, as we expand globalization and communications, the fact that we can all have this conversation now and people all over the world will be able to listen to this. That's amazing. You'd think that would expand our bubbles, but because of the algorithms, it's contracting our bubbles. And that's scary and unfortunate. And we need to, I think, really need to guard against that to make sure that we don't get stuck in these bubbles. So people who have read my books on shamanism often say to me, suddenly somebody will say, raise their hand at one of these workshops I'm doing and say, hey, you're not that jerk that wrote those books on economics, are you? And then I'll go and speak at something about
that was the other John Perkins.
yeah. I go and speak at a corporate or an economic conference, or like the Bitcoin. And incidentally, I knew nothing about Bitcoin when they invited me to speak there. I told them that, and they said, well, that's okay. Just talk about the life and death economy and the need for transformation. And so, but I got an education while I was there. And people at the economic conferences will say, well, you're not that jerk that wrote those books on shamanism, are you? That woo-woo guy. And to me, there's a complete connection between these two seemingly diverse and genres that are seem to be at the opposite end of a spectrum. But in fact, it's the same thing that impacts both of them, and that's perception. You know, that our perceptions determine our actions, and our actions determine reality. So perceptions create reality. And shamanism knows that. And business knows that. Business is all about perception. You know, marketing. What's marketing? Politics is all about perception. Psychology is all about perception. Writing is all about perception. This program is all about perception. How do people perceive things? And that impacts reality. And so when you're at a world like we're in today, increasingly, I think, where we're all enclosed in different bubbles of perception, and those bubbles are bubbles of perception. And what I found, you know, is a very interesting aspect that at the Bitcoin conference, I discovered that one of the reasons a lot of Bitcoiners supported Trump is because Trump supported cryptocurrency, and Biden and his SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, were opposed. It seemed to be opposed. They kept trying to regulate it. So there was this bubble that, as a consequence, a lot of Democrats, a lot of what's called liberal thinkers were opposed to Bitcoin because they saw Bitcoin as a supporting Trump. It had nothing really to do with the knowledge of Bitcoin. I was in that category before I understood Bitcoin. I'm not saying I'm not a promoter of it today, but I do understand that it has a lot of benefits as well as a lot of things opposed to it. The opposite side of that is that the Bitcoiners and Republicans in general see climate change as a democratic issue, or let's say the right wing sees it as the left wing. So they won't do anything that seems to help promote climate change and alternative energy and regulations against fossil fuels, et cetera, because that's seen as contrary to their overall political view. I'm getting into too much detail here.
Well, John, maybe you can give us some suggestions as to how we can bridge that perceptual divide in our own worlds.
Well, yes, thank you. I think one thing is being very open to the fact that maybe the people you think are wrong are not wrong. They just have a different perception that they're coming from. They are creating through their perceptions a different reality. And that is truly their reality. And it is a reality. Yeah. Bitcoin is a reality. Climate change is a reality. These are true realities. But how we approach them is so dependent on our bubble, on the perceptions that we have. I was recently, just this morning, in fact, on a Zoom call with a friend who lives in Spain. He's British. He lives in Spain, and he was asking me, so what's going on with these demonstrations in New York at the United Nations, where people are lying down in the streets and demonstrating against Israel? And I'm like, when did this happen? Well, yesterday, he said. Didn't you hear about it? And I said, no, I heard nothing about it. I've heard about, you know, the No King's Day and the demonstrations around gender, but I didn't hear anything about the UN. So he said, well, it's all over Al Jazeera, and we in Europe, a lot of us get Al Jazeera. And he said the BBC talked about it. And I said, well, I was just listening to NPR this morning. I didn't hear anything about it. And I go online and I look and I see that when I ask for what's the most recent news about demonstrations in New York, CNN, NBC, the New York Times, they all have news about the, No King's Day and the gender demonstrations. But the only thing that popped up for the demonstrations at the United Nations against Israel in Gaza was on Al Jazeera. And it turns out that was a fairly small demonstration. Small demonstrations don't make the news in New York particularly, but they're making news in Europe and elsewhere. And so that's an example of the bubble. So what can we do about it? I think one of the things is one of the things is, I tried not just to listen to NPR and the New York Times, but also Al Jazeera and RT, Russia Today. And I've been on both of those events quite a lot recently because my book's popular in Russia. It's popular throughout the Muslim world as well as the Christian world. The Chinese edition is very popular in China right now. So I try to, because of that, I try to keep up on these, and I find that to be very, very enlightening. It helps to expand my bubble. And
That's great perspective. I'm curious on RT, Russia Today, is that state sponsored or is it independent of the state?
well, I think it certainly has some state sponsorship, and I don't know
That's
the
a fine
politics.
line.
Yeah, I don't know this, I don't know that you can ever find out the real, uh, what's really going on there is just like there's so much we don't know about who controls what all over all over the world.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's a word, are you familiar with ground.news? I don't want to go too onto it, but it's what I use. And ground.news provides lots of different news sources, and it lets you know to what degree is it left-leaning, centrist, or right-leaning. And so you can pick any topic in the news, and they will send you everything from, Fox News to the Idaho Statesman to the Denver Republic. It's called Green.News, and it's a way to do exactly what you're talking about, to get different perspectives, and where they let you know which it's leaning towards about whatever topic you want to choose.
Well, that's great to know. Yes, thank you.
Interesting.
Say it again, please, Scott.
www.ground.news. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
look for it. Yeah, that's
It's interesting to be able to choose your bubble.
Yeah. And to see what the different bubbles are saying. I mean, it's really interesting. Back during the election, all the pictures of the Washington Post have of Trump, he looks really ugly and evil. All of Fox News, he's smiling and he looks powerful, but Biden looks old and decrepit. Even the photographs that they choose are part of the bias.
Yeah. Going into the Bitcoin conference, which was just a couple of weeks ago, I did not have a good impression of J.D. Vance.
Mhm.
And his speech was quite exceptional, I have to say.
Oh, that's good to hear.
One of the things that he said was, he said, I would like to believe that we Republicans are going to stay in power for a long time. But the fact of politics is you can't count on it, guys. And so let's work to get along with the Democrats. If we want to promote Bitcoin, let's have Democrats speaking here. Let's hear their side of it, because we can't count on staying in power, but we do want to keep Bitcoin going. We believe in it. You guys out there, you believe in it. So we've got to come together on this. And I found that to be most interesting coming from him, and he was very eloquent. So it's interesting to get these different perspectives. And another thing he said, so there was a lot of controversy around Bitcoin just being hoarded, that the only reason people buy it is to watch it grow in value. But there's a very strong movement within the Bitcoin community to make sure that Bitcoin is used to make the world better, to invest in solar energy and wind, because a lot of the Bitcoin mines use solar and wind. They build big solar and wind fields next to the mines. So that's a concept that they're working very hard on, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. But so another thing J.D. Vance said, he said, you Bitcoiners are, I'd call you digital pioneers, and you got to make sure you use your Bitcoins not to hoard, but to invest in make investments that will make us more prosperous as a people and as a nation. So he was, I read that to say to make the world a better place. He was, in that particular case, he was focused on the United States, make the United States more prosperous. but it was a very different position than what I would have believed a couple of weeks earlier, or even a couple of days earlier, would have come out of this. We all have so much to learn about each other, you know. I think as I've spent most of my life traveling in many different countries and living in many different countries and writing about many different countries and cultures and societies, I can really say that I think most people are very good-hearted. We all want the same things, you know. We want good food and good air and good water and love for each other and our kids. But the problem is the leaders. And historically, we see that people who are narcissistic and somewhat sociopathic rise to the top, whether it's in corporations or government, because these people are so aggressive. And you know, Democrats want to say that about Republicans, but it's also true about Democrats. And the way that they do it is a little different between those two parties, perhaps, or between leaders around the world. If you're Putin, you rise to the top one way. If you're Trump, you do it a different way. If you're Xi Jinping in China, you do it still another way. But it's heading for the same thing, and that is power. That is power, and that is wanting to be successful. So one of the important things I think is for us to recognize that that is part of human history. We have a leadership issue here, and that is that it's the most aggressive, it's the alpha, primarily alpha males, but there are alpha females too, who rise to the top, and they tend to be narcissistic sociopaths because that's how you get there. So if we can recognize that, and I don't know how to change that, but I do know that we can change our perception of success. And so right now in this country and most of the world, success is defined by how much money you have or make. And that's the people who make the cover of Fortune magazine, and they tend to make the Times Person of the Year, not necessarily because they're making more money, but because they've risen to the top of something. And usually they've risen to the top of something. It also includes making more money, or even may not, but at that point, the definition of success is power. So power and money are how we define success. And it's around money. The idea that, you know, I talk about the death economy that we're creating that's based on a goal of maximizing short-term materialistic consumption and short-term profits for corporations. That's the life economy that's consuming and polluting itself into extinction. The contrary to that is a life economy that's based on maximizing long-term benefits for all life. And it's investing in wind and solar and other technologies that clean up pollution, that harnessing, corralling and harnessing all the plastic that's in the ocean. And, you know, we all know I think we know what a life economy would look like. It's really focusing on long-term benefits for all life. If we can make that as the perception of success, that those who contribute to improving long-term benefits, to making this world a place that all of our children and grandchildren will want to inherit, if we can define that as success, then the narcissists and the sociopaths are going to buy into it, because they're not about making money, but they are about being successful. And so if we define success as making money, that's it. We do the same thing in sports. You know, who are the people you read about in sports? It's usually that they may be the ones that make the most goals or most touchdowns, but it's the ones who make the most money. So we hear that, you know, oh my God, this guy just signed a contract that broke all the other records. But so we define success in terms of money and power that's used to create money and to help your friends get money. We can turn that around and have the perception of success where we've got on the next Fortune magazine, we've got Scott on the cover. And on the next Person of the Year, we've got Deborah as a person of the year. You know, when we can move into that direction, when we can change the perception and show that what we all really want to achieve, what we want to strive for, what we want our kids to go to school to learn to be about, is making the world better for all life, benefiting all life in the long term, then we redefine success to be facilitating a life economy. And while we are not going to do away with narcissism, and we're not going to do it with sociopaths, I don't think, and those are the people who are going to rise to the top, what we can do is create a world where they will be striving to make it better for all of our children and grandchildren.
Wonderful vision, John. Thank you so much.
Yeah, John, that was brilliant. That was
It
brilliant.
was a mouthful, I'm afraid. But it
It's
all
okay. It
goes
was a
back.
mouthful we wanted to hear.
It all
Very
goes back.
inspiring.
It all goes back to perceptions mold reality or create reality. There's that step in between, which is action. So perceptions get us to take certain actions, and those actions then create reality. And so if we want to get to the bottom of all this, climate change, income inequality, racism and sexism and all these other things, we need to look at the underlying issue, which is our perception that's created a death economy, which says that, you know, we've got to maximize short-term materialism and consumption and short-term profits and create this death economy. That, you know, those other things are all symptoms of this death economy. And so let's really address that issue.
John, thank you so much for this little homeopathic dose of your medicine. And we want to let people know how they can get more John Perkins. It's easy. It's his name, johnperkins.org. Notice that it's .org. And, you know, he talked about his new book, Message from the Pleiades, and our very own Rev Deb. You can find it right there. You can watch the little video, but Rev Deb just read it. So, Rev Deb, can you give us a little bit of your experience of this new book?
Well, if you're looking for a charming, engaging story, this is the John Perkins or J.P. Moody book to read. And it's a beautiful introduction to John's work because it does speak from the heart about the life economy. And if you want more detail about this concept of moving away from the death economy toward the life economy, then I would recommend you go to John's previous books where he will explain in great detail what that is all about and also tell about his personal experiences from his extraordinarily rich life and background. So yes, Message from the Pleiades is a good place to start. You can just download it, and it's a quick read. It's very engaging. You'll want to keep coming back to it, and then look at all of these other books that he has written from his quite unusual path. And all of this is why we're so delighted to have John with us today on the Awakening World. So thank you so much, John, for being with us.
Thank you for saying all that, Deborah, promoting the books. And it's wonderful to be with you, Scott, and Deborah once again. It's wonderful. It's always a great pleasure.
Thank you.
What a fascinating guy. You know, and watching it again, because I hadn't seen it since we recorded it, we really covered quite a bit. You know, it was a wide spectrum, but you know, most of all, I want to take away just his suggestion that we open ourselves to other ways of thinking, and that we open our minds and don't just immediately dismiss people as being Republicans or Democrats or jerks or fools, but what is it they believe and why, and for us to be open to diverse perspectives.
It's also really helpful to think in terms of the life economy. I find that phrase very useful when I am trying to envision the world that we all want to co-create, especially when we're feeling stuck. What is it that we really want? And I think that says it. The life economy.
People are wanting us to be on the covers of those magazines. All right, that's a vision you can hold for hold of Rev Deb first.
Well, I think one of the hallmarks of New Paradigm service is that it's not about that. We're here to do what we're doing, what we're called to do, every one of us. And it doesn't require that kind of recognition in order to matter. We can all make a difference wherever we are. But it was a sweet thought.
And everybody who's watching this right now is playing a role. I've been using this analogy ever since I first heard it from Greg Braden 8 years ago, probably. But we are the imaginal selves or the imaginal souls finding each other as the caterpillar, which has eaten itself to death, which has overstuffed itself to its absolute death. But all the imaginal cells find each other and they coalesce and they form the butterfly. And likewise, we are all playing our part, playing our role as we find each other to create the new earth, the new paradigm.
And it's important to remember that before the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, while it's in the cocoon, it has turned to soup.
Yeah.
And we're in the soup right now.
We're in the soup. And it's
So
scary.
it's hard to see. You can't see the butterfly from the soup.
Yeah.
And you can't open the cocoon before it's ready.
And the caterpillar thinks it's dying, and it's, because everything is changing. It's such a good analogy for the time that we're in right now. One Global Peace Tribe announcement, but it's very, very important. This week was the start of our summer season. And I want to acknowledge all of the wonderful people in the Zoom room because they're all people that have subscribed to our new season. So thank you, each and every one of you, for being special friends and subscribers. And for all of you who are watching on YouTube or watching the recordings, I don't know why that stopped. Somebody paused it. Somebody who's co-hosting, perhaps. There we go. Anyway, now is the time to subscribe because you'll get all the Zoom room links to our new season. And we have some really, really special shows planned. And honestly, we need your support. I recognize that a lot of people have learned, hey, I can watch for free on Facebook or on YouTube. But honestly, it really helps us to feel well-loved and well-supported when you do subscribe. And it's very easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com. globalpeacetribe.com. You can learn all about what we've got going, learn about all of our new shows, and then click register for the new season. And that'll take you to the registration page. And you can register for as little as $22. You get all the Zoom room links for the next 3 months. We do shows every Wednesday night and every Saturday night. And then we do special shows. Oftentimes we'll do a Sacred Sunday show, or we'll do a show from a festival or an event. So please do join us. It's really, really important.
I'd like to add that I just signed up for the new season, and I really want to encourage everyone to do that. It's such an incredible service that Scott provides week after week after week, and he's extraordinarily committed. And this is something special. And I remember seeing in the chat earlier in the evening how much this program means to so many who listen on a weekly basis. It does nourish our souls, and we're so grateful to you, Scott Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for registering. I saw that and I was like, Rev Deb, subscribe. It really meant a lot to me.
I don't want to take you for granted.
Thank you.
You're a very special human being, Scott.
I did slightly fib. I actually have 2 more quick announcements that I want to make sure that I cover. Desiree is become a wonderful, wonderful new part of our Awakening World show. And she is the shamanic shapeshifter, and she provides events, classes, and she's a wonderful, wonderful person to work with if you're looking for Reiki, healing. She's very special. And you can learn all about her services by going to Desiree Pittman. That's Desire, like desire Pittman. If you desire Pittman.com, that's how you'll find her. So thank you, Desiree, for your wonderful contributions to our show. And earlier, Omashar spoke about his music channel, and I wanted to make sure everybody got that too. Just go to YouTube, click on Omashar Music. That's where you'll find all of his music videos, including the brand new Dancing into Greatness. So that's where you can find all things Omashar, at least in terms of finding him on YouTube. So we have two more things. We're going to have a video pre-recorded with the wonderful Anadea Judith, and then we will close with an Omashar song. Rev Deb, do you remember if you did your introduction of Anadea when we pre-recorded?
I don't remember.
I think
But let's not take any extra time now. She is so inspiring. I just want everybody to stay on and listen to her.
Okay, we're going to go straight to that right now. I'm pulling it up, and here we go. So we're here about to do a pre-record with our beloved Anadea Judith and, of course, Rev Deb, who will introduce her.
Oh, I'm so happy to introduce my dear friend, Anadea Judith. She's such a shining light among our evolutionary leaders. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say this evening. You are probably already familiar with her work because, get this, she has over 1 million books in print and in 25 languages. So she is known, obviously, all over the world. And you may know her for her writing about the chakras, many books about the chakras. And she's written a recent book called Goddess that at least half of you will relate to.
Well, actually, that book was for men as well.
Got to get them to pick it up, though. That's the tricky part. So we're going to encourage all of you males out there to read Goddess and understand how to balance your energy, so that you will be helping with the evolution of human consciousness if you read the book and do that. So that's the book Goddess, and I know she has another book that she would like to talk about with us. And I love the title of this book. I can't wait to get this book. It's called The Global Heart Awakens. And here we are on the awakening world. So there is nothing that all of us would like better than to see the global heart awaken and to learn how we each can do our part in helping that to happen. So I give you Anadea Judith.
Thank you, Rev Deb, and thank you, Scott. Always an honor to be among you and among your wonderful listeners in the awakening world. Yeah, I think this world is trying to awaken a heart chakra paradigm. And, you know, the title, The Global Heart Awakens, I like the subtitle, but it was too long for a title. Humanity's Rite of Passage from the Love of Power to the Power of Love. And as I did my work with the chakras, my book, Eastern Body, Western Mind, looked at the psychology of the chakras, and I mapped the chakra system onto developmental stages of childhood, right? So first chakra was our infancy, and then we went up through, you know, coming to school and being socialized and all that. But when I did that, I saw that those stages actually mapped onto history as well, and that humanity had an infancy, and we had a teeming toddlerhood, and we had our sibling rivalry. And in my view of that, as I studied history, I saw that we were in our adolescence right now. And, you know, Dwayne Elgin talks about this a lot, and he goes all over the world asking people, you know, what stage are we in? And so many of them say adolescence. And there's so many parallels to that. You know, we've just burgeoned in our population while an adolescent goes through huge growth. We have disrespect for everything. That's kind of typical of adolescence. We use and abuse as if there's no tomorrow and we can just take from the storehouse of the earth forever without replenishing it. And everything is about, you know, the ego and who am I. But what happens in indigenous cultures anyway, is that adolescents undergo an initiation to become adults. And that's a spiritual initiation. But what I see, and the sense that I make, and perhaps the silver lining I take from what's happening in the world right now, what's happening in our country, in the US, is that this is all part of our initiatory challenge. And this is all part of awakening humanity out of its adolescent naivete, out of its adolescent immaturity, out of its adolescent self-focus, ego focus, into our future planetary adulthood. And, you know, this planetary adulthood is when we come and, you know, it's no longer a parent-child relationship. You know, we have the mother goddess, we have the father God, we call ourselves children of God. You know, I love that Steve Behrman says, no, it's time to become adults of God, that we are co-creating with the divine. And as you come into your adulthood, you co-create with others on a peer-to-peer level, right? So this is about collaboration and cooperation and not competition, but, you know, compassion, and really the heart as an organizing principle, not just as this, you know, sentimental, romantic love kind of thing, but really a social organizing principle. Morris Berman said, love is the social equivalent of gravity. And when we organize around nonviolence, when we organize around compassion, when we organize around seeing that everyone is taken care of, then we are actually creating a different kind of society, and we're lifting everyone up and the whole society is stronger. But we've been so inured to just think of ourselves and to just chase after our own career, our own power, our own empire, our own bigger house, better car. I mean, I know, you know, the evolutionary leaders don't think that way, but the world out there does. And, you know, I like to say that the difference between illness and wellness is the difference between I and we. And so we are, part of the initiation is to move from this self-focused, ego-based, me, mine, mentality to one of global cooperation. And I think that the, you know, initiation of climate change, the initiation of the fall of democracy, this is all forcing this global reorganization, you know, what Barbara Marx Hubbard called the breakdown before breakthrough, or, you know, the chaos that that's the evolutionary driver. So that's
Wow.
that's the first mouthful.
Wow.
Yeah. There's so many beautiful stirrings. And again, we talked to Anna Day and Judith, and about, she's written many books, but we're focusing on the Global Heart Awakens. You know, thank you for that very relevant point about adolescence, because it's true. And I think it's important to recognize that really America is in its adolescence. I think there are indigenous cultures and other more civilized cultures that are more mature.
Mm-hmm.
We can learn from them, and we need to learn from them.
But they're not running the world.
But they're not running the world.
And we have adolescent tyrants running the world, especially in this country, you know, and that's feeding adolescent ego.
That's all over the world.
Yeah.
That is all over the world, because that is what rises to the top. Is these big egos with big personal agendas. So here we are, Anadea, all of us here on the Awakening World, hoping that we can each play our part to open the global heart. And where would you point us, and what would you suggest that we do?
Well, I think that the heart chakra, as I understand it from a chakra point of view, is about balance. It's about balance between heaven and earth. So it's not all about leaving this planet and going up to some afterworld heaven. It's about taking care of the planet and bringing heaven down to earth. It is about the balance between masculine and feminine and a partnership in the heart between masculine and feminine, neither one of them dominating. And what I argue in the book about that is that this is actually the first time in history we have been able to approach masculine and feminine being in equal partnership. We're a long way from having that still. But, we started off with the mother goddess where the masculine was the sun, S-O-N. And then the son grew up and then overthrew the mother. And then, in the patriarchal religions, the god is father, and the status of women is reduced to that of a daughter, not an equal. And so now the son has been growing up, the daughter's been growing up, we're now ready. And this is what happens at adolescence, the male and female, or however you define yourself, start to look at each other in a different way. Instead of the girls just playing with their dolls as children, they come up and they start to interface with the opposite gender or whatever they choose, but into having adult relationships. So part of that is the balancing of the masculine and feminine. And I've done a lot of work in my life on that with the Goddess book and working with the Founding Mothers movement and, trying to bring the goddess back. But that alone isn't going to do it. And it's also just, we have a top-down organizing principle, which is somebody on the top. And, regardless, and we probably have to avoid getting too political here, but our political system in the US and in most countries is a hierarchical top-down. One person can get in there, fire everybody else they don't want from their cabinet and put their own people in, and they change everything from the top down. And if that person is flawed, then the whole system is flawed. And that is a top-down organizing principle. A heart chakra organizing principle is more peer-to-peer, more egalitarian, more democratic. It's more difficult in some ways. It's messier in some ways. It's easy with a dictator that just says this is how it goes and everybody behave, but it doesn't harvest the intelligence of all the people. And it doesn't empower people to take part in the co-creative venture of creating a new world. What I think is happening is that the shift of intelligence is coming down to the people. It used to be, 400 years ago, hardly anybody knew how to read and write. In the 1600s, only 25% of the people could write their name. And that was more men, So
And that was just in Western Europe, probably, that statistic.
Exactly. So, the education and the amount of information at our disposal and the ability to connect with each other, look at the Zoom calls all over the world, and it's an organizing principle. We didn't have that before. The tools were only in the hands of the elite. Now the tools of connection and collaboration and organization are in the hands of the common people. They're in our hands as a people. And so it's going to fall to us to reorganize. And that organization has to be based on love, has to be based on respect for each other, has to be based on respect for diversity and inclusion and equity and balance between the genders and balance between the races and understanding this plurality of our culture. And it's so interesting to me, when I wrote that book, I did not see coming what is going on right now in our country. I didn't see that coming. I don't think any of us did. But as I watch it and pull my hair out and try to make sense of it, it is everything that this paradigm that I'm talking about, the heart chakra paradigm, everything that it's not. And so what it's doing is creating a backlash of what we want it to be. Carl Jung talked about something he called enantiodromia, which is when something gets very extremely one-sided, it's about to turn to its opposite. And he saw this in the psyche. And so never in my life have I seen things so one-sided. so lopsided, so moving all the money to the rich and the white masculine power over. This is creating a counter movement that is waking up from a slumber and taking its voice and organizing and claiming our values. I think that initiation always has a test. Are you worthy of passing this test? And the test that humanity, and I don't just mean Americans, but humanity is facing, is really a test of our moral fiber, and our moral fiber is what is going to take us into the future. Do we care about each other? Do we lift each other up? Do we care for the earth? Do we have a sense of reverence for the world that we are living in, to care for it? Do we have that all the way down into the bones of our DNA and the bones of our society? If we do, I believe we will pass the initiation.
Well, it's certainly interesting to think about humanity moving from adolescence. I remember hearing that from Dwayne Elgin some years ago, and of course it totally resonated with me, but it's not clear to me how you get from adolescence to adulthood. And I know with some of us, I think myself included, it may have taken longer than for others to make that transition. And so my question to you is, assuming that we are going through some kind of initiation right now, what can we do to make more of that, or make that transition more visible, so that people can feel into it in their own lives and in their communities?
Yeah. I mean, I talk about that in the final chapters of the book, both on the personal level, on the global level. But I think the short answer to what turns us from adolescents into adults is two things: hardship and spiritual practice. And the less you have of spiritual practice, the more you have of the hardship. And I think that the practices that have been handed down to us by the wise elders in our ancestry, the practices of yoga and meditation and, all the many spiritual practices, I'm not attached to a particular form, but they have been given to us to help us mature. A musician practices so they can play well with others, right? So these practices are teaching us to play well with others, because I think we're coming into a grand symphony of co-creation. And to do that, we have to learn to play well with others, and we have to do our own practices so that we're good players.
Wow, a grand symphony of co-creation. That is magnificent. It's a beautiful concept to hold. And it really speaks to the art of synergy. As you know, the Evolutionary Leaders Circle is held by our mother organization, the Source of Synergy Foundation. And the more we do learn that we are more powerful together than we are as the proud individual who pulled himself up by his bootstraps, which just try and do that, because it's really not possible. So I love this concept that it's going to take us doing it together.
Yeah, and if you take the heart and you take heart cells and you put them on a slide and you look at them under a microscope, and one is they're beating, they have a rhythm, and if they're different ones, they're beating in a different rhythm. When you move them close to each other, they start to beat in unison. So that is the synergy. The heart cells will beat in unison, and they will beat out a rhythm for everything else. So the heart is the center. In the chakra system, it's a center with 3 above and 3 below. So it's the great integrator. When we don't have the heart, we disintegrate. We fall apart. We unintegrate. But the integration is the bringing things together. And what is the glue, the attractive force of integration? It's love. We all know this. And so the other part is, how can we practice more love? Whether it is as simple as taking time to look into the eyes of the person that's packing your groceries at the grocery store and say, how's your day going?
Mm.
I hope everybody's nice to you today, cracking a joke, making them laugh, seeing them as a human being, just smiling at people on the street, or acts of love and devotion. I mean, both of you have made your lives acts of love and devotion.
Scott is a love coach.
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you so much. This is just a little homeopathic dose of the extraordinary world of Anodea Judith. And I do want to let people know where you can get much more. Her website is her name, Anodea, Anodea, Judith.com. And oh my, there's so much here. She's a best-selling book, best-selling author, and we of course really want to emphasize the Global Heart Awakens, but look at all the books that she's written,
Wow.
involved in. I mean, it's extraordinary. I think, Wheels of Life, I can remember, I won't age either of us with how long ago I had Wheels of Life on my bookshelf. It's really like the Bible of chakra understanding, and just how incredibly prolific you have been. Here's Global Heart Awakens. Now, for all of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, you can buy it on Amazon. But for those of you in our Zoom room, we're going to put a special link into the chat box where you can get it.
Yeah, you should put my email. They should email me directly because I'm not sure. I had let my assistant go, and that might go to her old email. So my email, anadeaj@gmail.com, and
Okay.
I'll deal with them directly, and you can get it at a discount for me.
That is so sweet of you.
Yeah.
Thank you
How
so much.
generous to allow your email address to go public.
Well,
And
it's out now.
be so generous with the amazing work that you do writing all these books. We're already over, but I have a quick question. We did the original premiere of the Founding Mothers Movement on this show, and people have been asking what's happening with the Founding Mothers Movement. Can you give us a quick headline?
Yeah, you were taking a breath. We've been going really gangbusters until really just a couple weeks ago when we were, looking at the state of the world and saying, we've got to reconfigure for what's going on in this country and figure out what is the best way to address it. So we're actually stepping back and taking a breath. But we are having our 1-year anniversary Congress meeting this coming Saturday, July 5th, the same day as this broadcast that you're doing, because we started in July 5th officially, opening with the first Women's Congress, and we've held 12 since then. And the Congresses may go quarterly now, and we're just trying to figure out how best to serve.
Yeah. Well,
That's
God
it,
bless.
isn't it? That's the name of the game. And you have given us a lifetime of service, Anodea. And we so appreciate what you do and who you are. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Evolution is the God's way of making more gods.
Beautiful. That is one special lady, huh?
I am just blown away with how prolific she is. It's to write that many books and on such diverse topics and yet also incredibly relevant. A lot of, I'm not going to read them all, but I want to acknowledge everybody who put a lot in the chat box. Yeah, she is absolutely. We should put into the chat box. Did anybody write down her email address?
I put it in.
Oh, you put it in. Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. I can't, if I do anything on the computer while it's playing, it runs the risk of stopping the video. So that's why I can't do much on the chat box when it's playing. Well,
What a program tonight.
I love our group. I really do, Rev Deb. Thank you so much for all you've done to have the Evolutionary Leaders Circle come together, stay together, connecting. I'm blessed to be part of many communities, and it's a community that just nourishes me and in so many wonderful ways. Thank you. All right. Well, I call him the Alpha and Omega Man because all shows usually begin and end with Omar Shar. So we are going to go to our beloved brother to conclude the evening with a song.
Whatever happened to the ones that came before? Did they just vanish into the blue? Maybe they're living the dream we know to be true, and reaching their hands back out of the blue. My heart is so ready to embrace all that's new. I feel the love calling for me to break on through. With peace on my mind, I know that I'm coming to the new way of life that feels so true. There's nothing here to hold me back from you. The clouds of my life have blown away. My lightness of being lifts me every day. I find myself feeling not so blue. Heart is so ready to embrace all that's new. I feel the love calling for me to break on through. With peace on my mind, I know that I'm coming to the new way of life that feels so true.
Let's go to gallery view. And I love that you're all still with us 3 hours later. You're still up, you're still dancing. Omashar is still doing his magic. I love our global peace. I really do. Lynn is still dancing. She's still motoring along there. Thank you, Lynn. And I hope you've had a wonderful birthday week, Leaf. We love you very, very much. Well, it's been quite an evening, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. I want to always let people know what we've got coming up, and you'll appreciate this, Rev Deb. It's many of your friends that are going to be on the next show on July 9th, Wednesday night. Your daughter, your adopted daughter, Kristen Hoffman, is my co-host, and we are celebrating what's going to be taking place in the middle of the country, Fields of Healing event. And we'll have Dr. Marty Casey, we'll have Kristen, Pookie Lee, Paulette Pipe, we just added, of course, Ben Bowler, and of course, Omashar and myself. So that's going to be this Wednesday night, July 9th. So everybody, please make sure you're there. I want to thank everybody.
I want to mention that I'm also going to be at Fields of Healing in St. Louis in August. That my soul daughter and then extended a very special invitation that I couldn't refuse. So I hope that many members of the Global Peace Tribe will decide that they would like to join us there as well.
So, this would be a good moment. Do you want to tell people a little bit about that, about the fields of healing?
I can't say I know as much about it as those who've been involved in organizing it, but it will have a part 1 and a part 2. The part 1 will be in St. Louis in the community with Dr. Marty K. Casey, who has definitely been on this program and is doing extraordinary work in her community, especially following the devastating climate event that they had there that they're still recovering from. And she has opened up a kind of a food pantry and all kinds of things for her community. And she's going to be preaching at her church on that Sunday. And then the second part is going to be at Unity Village, which is a place I've always wanted to go to, and where, of course, our beloved Reverend Paulette Pipe spends a good deal of her time. And that is the birthplace of the Unity School of Christianity. And yes, I'm an interfaith minister, but I came back close to being a Unity minister. It's such a beautiful path. And then there is a very deep spiritual component to this trip. And I'm hoping that Ben will speak with you about that on July 9th. He says that the arch, the great arch in St. Louis.
Now that you're a subscriber, Rev Deb, maybe you will come and join us on Wednesday night.
It could happen.
No pressure, but if you're there, I'll definitely love to have you join us. And this is the event we're talking about. And of course, you'll learn all about it on Wednesday night, August 9th to 14th. So time to be in the middle of the country with Rev Deb and Bowler and lots of other friends. And I actually meant to keep you up here. There we go.
Well, let's open that portal.
Absolutely.
And certainly use that in the heart of the United States at this tender time.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about.
And before we go tonight, let's just keep the people in Texas who are waiting to hear the fate of their children in our hearts.
I felt your tears, Rev Deb, when you were saying the prayer for them. And it's true. Some of the photographs I've seen of mothers desperately wondering if their daughter is surviving. It is very, very, very scary. Maximum grace for our world. And we give thanks to the masters behind all the other masters and ancestors guiding us. And we give thanks to Rev Deb and all of our evolutionary leaders that are with us. I see Trudy and Steve are still with us, so I'm going to bring them up. And of course, our beloved Omashar and Desiree and Diara. This is like our team that makes things happen. So thank you to all of you. And also thanks to our other presenters, John Perkins, Anadea Judith, Tatiana Speed, Scarlett.
And Jeff Vanderklut.
Jeff Vanderklut, exactly. What a group, what a team, what a show. And it's time for dinner.
Or bed, depending on where you are.
Dinner and then bed on my end. Well, a walk for my dog. She needs to go outside. Take care, everybody. I love you all so much, and I'll see you hopefully on Wednesday night. And remember, Sebastopol with